Of course, here's an expanded version of the first keynote written in the passionate and storytelling style inspired by Luisa Montalvo, without naming her directly. Embrace your roots, even if they're messy. That sounds simple, right? But for some of us, our roots are tangled, twisted up in poverty, trauma, silence, or shame. They don't always come with warm nostalgia or tidy family photo albums. Some of us come from cracked concrete and empty cupboards, from broken promises and parents doing their best with what they had. Some of us carry stories we were told never to speak of, pain we were expected to endure quietly as though surviving was the prize. But those roots, they are the reason you grew. See, no flower questions the dirt it came from. It just rises, and you rise too, even if your childhood was a battlefield of unspoken words and tight budgets. Even if you grew up in homes where dreams were a luxury, not a language, even if your last name was mispronounced more times than you can count, even if you've been told that who you are, how you speak, how you show up, how you feel is too much or not enough, embrace all of it, because your story didn't start at the moment you succeeded. It started at the moment you were born into a world that didn't make room for you, and you made one anyway. It started with that version of you who learned to read between the lines, who could tell from a glance whether it was a safe day or a stormy one, who figured out how to smile through the struggle and how to find the poetry in pain. You are not broken, you are built, you are made from the kind of resilience textbooks don't teach. From nights when you whispered affirmations into the dark, hoping they'd stick. From scraped knees and second-hand shoes. From communities that knew how to laugh even when life didn't give them a reason. You are made from the hands that held you, the ones that dropped you, and the ones you had to become for yourself. So many of us spend our lives trying to clean up our past like it's a mess we need to hide. But your past isn't a mess, it's a map. It shows where you've been, what you've survived, and what kind of strength runs through your bones. That's not something to erase, that's something to honor. You don't owe anyone a polished version of your journey. You don't have to soften your story to make it easier to digest. There is strength in truth. There is beauty in the jagged edges. Let people know where you came from and how hard it was to get here. Not because you need their validation, but because someone else needs your permission to believe they can make it too. When you embrace your roots, you become unshakable. You stop looking for approval from the very systems that never saw you. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces that were never designed for your fullness. You stand tall, even if your foundation was once fragile, because you know exactly what it took to grow. Your roots are messy, yes, but they are also magical. They remind you that growth doesn't always look graceful, that success is not a straight line, but a spiral of setbacks and comebacks, that healing isn't always pretty, but it's always worth it. So the next time you feel ashamed of where you came from, remember this. You are not defined by your struggle, but by how you carried it. And you carried it with grace, with fire, with tenacity, with hope. Own your story, let it be messy, let it be raw. Let it be yours, because the most powerful thing you can do is not just rise, but rise with your roots still showing. And when people ask you how you made it, don't just tell them about the wins. Tell them about the wounds too. Show them the soil you came from. Show them how you bloomed anyway. That's where your power lives. Dream loud in quiet rooms. That's not just a call to be bold. It's a lifeline for the days when the world feels like it's sleeping on you. When no one's paying attention, when it seems like everyone else is getting their shot, their stage, their moment, and you're stuck whispering your hopes to empty corners. But here's the truth. Not every dream begins with applause. Most of them begin in silence. They're born in the spaces where nothing looks possible, in kitchens filled with bills and noise, in buses and break rooms and late night walks when you're talking to yourself, trying to remember why you're still trying. That's where dreams take root. Not when you're in the spotlight, but when you're completely alone and still choose to believe in something bigger than what you can currently see. Because dreaming loud isn't about volume. It's about faith. It's about saying, I want this, even when no one claps, even when people look at you like you're ridiculous, even when the only validation you get is the fire in your own chest that won't go out, no matter how many times you try to smother it. There are rooms you'll walk into where you'll feel small, invisible even, places where people talk over you, underestimate you, ignore you, and it's tempting to shrink in those spaces, to make yourself quieter, more palatable, easier to ignore, because that's what the world has trained us to do. But that dream inside you, it's not supposed to be convenient. It's not meant to fit neatly into someone else's expectations. It's supposed to stretch you, scare you, push you to speak when your voice shakes. To show up even when no one is watching, especially then, when you dream loud in quiet rooms, you're not being foolish. You're planting something powerful. You're letting the universe know you're still here. That despite the silence, despite the waiting, despite the odds, you still believe in your vision, and that belief is dangerous in the best way. It changes things. It changes asterisk you. Asterisk because each time you say, I will make it, even when you have no proof, you teach yourself resilience. You grow confidence not from success, but from the sheer act of showing up, again, and again, and again. Some of the greatest transformations don't happen in front of audiences. They happen in private moments of courage. When you're sitting on the floor, full of doubt, and still manage to say, I'm not done. When you write that line, rehearse that speech, study that dream job, send that application, not because someone's watching, but because you are. That's what dreaming loud really means. It means being your own witness, your own fan, your own advocate. It means trusting that your words matter, your vision matters, and your future is worth fighting for even when no one is handing you a microphone. And eventually, those quiet rooms lead to louder ones, not because someone suddenly discovered you, but because you refused to disappear. People will start to notice. They'll call you an overnight success. Without seeing the years you spent talking to walls, practicing in mirrors, daring to hope when hope seemed foolish. But you'll know the truth. You'll know that success didn't come from a single spotlight moment. It came from the consistency of believing before being believed in. So don't wait for the crowd. Don't wait for the invitation. Don't wait for perfect timing, perfect circumstances, or perfect words. Say it now. Say it scared. Say it shaky. Say it to the walls. Say it to the mirror. Say it to yourself every single morning if you have to. Dream loud in quiet rooms, because one day those dreams will echo, and what once felt like silence will sound like destiny calling your name. Turn every no into a new direction. It's hard to hear no, harder when it feels like the world is made of locked doors and you've been standing on the outside knocking with bloody knuckles. Rejection doesn't just sting, it echoes. It crawls into your chest and whispers lies like, you're not good enough. You should quit. This isn't for people like you. But what if no wasn't a stop sign? What if it was a signal to pivot, to shift, to try something bolder, something truer? So many of us were taught to take rejection personally, to let it define us, to believe that if someone says we're not ready, then we must not be. But the truth is, rejection isn't a verdict. It's feedback. It's redirection. It's the universe saying, not here, but keep going. Think about it. How many times have you been told no? Only to realize later that the thing you wanted wasn't the thing you needed, the job that didn't call back, the person who walked away, the opportunity that slipped through your fingers just when you thought you had it. At the time, it felt like the end, but looking back, it was a turning point, not because you were weak, but because you didn't give up. You turned the no into movement. You kept showing up. You adjusted your path. You rewrote your plan without erasing your purpose. That takes courage, because hearing no isn't just disappointing, it's exhausting. It chips away at your hope. It makes you question why you're still trying. But you are, and that says something powerful about who you are. You are someone who refuses to settle. You are someone who turns detours into destinations. You are someone who learns from the closed doors and says, fine, I'll build my own. When they said, you're not what we're looking for. Maybe what they really meant was, you're more than we can handle. When they said, this isn't the right time. Maybe the universe was saying, something better is waiting, if you just hold on. And you did. You're still holding on, still building, still rising. See, the world loves to celebrate success stories, but they often leave out the rejections, the slammed doors, the hundreds of silent auditions, ignored pitches, failed interviews, and unanswered emails. They don't show the behind the scenes pain of dreaming big in a world that's quick to say no. But you've lived that part. You've felt the sting, and yet you didn't let it stop you. You turned no into next. You turned not now into watch me. You turned doubt into drive. Let your voice be the weapon and the medicine. Your voice is more powerful than you think. Not just the sound that comes from your throat, but the truth that lives in your chest. The stories you've carried, the pain you've buried, the fire that rises every time someone tries to silence you. That voice, it's your gift, your armor, your rebellion, and your healing. Some of us were taught to stay quiet, to make ourselves smaller, to not speak unless spoken to. We were taught that silence was safety, that obedience was strength, that keeping the peace meant swallowing our truth. But silence isn't safety, it's suffocation. You can only hold in your story for so long before it starts to burn from the inside out. But when you finally let it out, when you speak your truth, it becomes something bigger than pain. It becomes power. Your voice is the weapon because it refuses to let injustice go unnoticed. It challenges what needs to be challenged. It cuts through expectations, through fear, through every sit down, be quiet, and know your place you've ever heard. When you speak, you remind the world that you're here, and you won't be ignored, and your voice is the medicine because it reaches others who are still hiding, still hurting, still trying to find the courage to say, me too. When you speak your truth, someone else feels a little less alone. When you tell your story, someone else starts to believe theirs is worth telling. That's healing, that's community, that's transformation. You don't need a podium to use your voice. You don't need a stage or a spotlight or a microphone. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is speak honestly at your kitchen table, or in a classroom, or in a journal, or in front of someone who once made you feel like you had nothing to say, because your truth isn't just valid, it's vital. It doesn't have to be polished, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be real. Speak about the things that cracked you open. Speak about the moments that made you question everything. Speak about the parts of your life that others might not understand, but you no matter. Even if your voice trembles, even if your throat tightens, even if it feels like too much, do it anyway, because your voice has the power to break cycles, to shift generations, to name what others are too afraid to say out loud. There is nothing more dangerous to systems of oppression, of silence, of shame, than someone who has found their voice and dares to use it. Your voice may have been ignored in the past, dismissed, mocked. Maybe someone told you it was too loud, too emotional, too dramatic. Maybe they called you angry or sensitive or difficult. Let them say what they want, because they don't know what it took for you to speak at all. They didn't see the years you spent staying quiet, the nights you stayed up rehearsing what you should have said, the way your heart raced when you finally spoke up and the room went still, but you did it anyway. And every time you speak, it gets a little easier, a little stronger, a little louder. Let your voice be both sword and salve. Let it protect and let it heal. Let it say, asterisk, I've been hurt, asterisk, and asterisk, I've overcome. Asterisk, let it say, asterisk, this is who I am, asterisk, and asterisk, this is what I've lived. Asterisk, let it sing, scream, cry, laugh, whatever it needs to do to be heard, and if your voice shakes, good, that means you're telling the truth. That means you're alive. That means you're no longer afraid to be seen. Use your voice like it matters, because it does. Use it to call things out. Use it to call people in. Use it to lift others, to love louder, to name things that need naming. Speak, not to impress, but to express. Not to perform, but to free yourself. Because once your truth leaves your mouth, it can't be taken back. It becomes part of the world. It becomes part of asterisk you asterisk. So speak loudly, softly, fiercely, tenderly. Just speak, because your voice is your revolution and your healing all at once. And that shift, that decision to move instead of mourn, that's what separates those who dream from those who asterisk do asterisk. Because eventually, every no you've ever received will become part of the story you tell, not as a wound, but as a landmark. A reminder that rejection didn't break you. It redirected you toward the version of success that was actually meant for you. You'll start to realize that some doors are meant to stay closed, that not being chosen is not the same as not being worthy, that the people who passed you up were never the gatekeepers of your destiny. You are not here because it was easy. You are here because you refused to stay stuck. You didn't just take a no and sit down. You took it and stepped forward. So the next time life tells you no, don't see it as failure. See it as navigation. Shift, reimagine, redirect. Turn left when you thought you'd go right. Take the long way if you have to. Rebuild the map if the road disappears. Just don't stop, because one day you'll look back and see that every no was guiding you toward a place far greater than you ever could have planned. Not a dead end, a divine detour.